This is going to be a very different type of video to what I usually make, because a lot of you who are subscribed to me are actually here for the Amazing Digital Circus content. But the thing is, the Amazing Digital Circus has now ended, and although I'm not going to stop making TADC content, it does give me an opportunity to kind of focus more on what I initially wanted this channel to be about, which is multi-fandoms. So, you know, obviously doing the TADC stuff was always going to be on the agenda. It's just episode 9 happened so fast that I didn't really get a chance to establish my footing elsewhere. So, with TADC now being over, I now have an opportunity to focus on things like music and books, which are my main fandoms. TADC is like the first nerd fandom I've been in, but I've been in other fandoms since I was like 11. And today, I actually just want to talk about my favorite books. So I have a big stack here of the books I want to talk about. It's a top 10 plus a few honourable mentions. Specifically, when I'm talking about these books, the thing you have to know about me is I still read middle grade. I'm 18, I'm in university, I really should be reading more advanced stuff, but middle grade has just always been my sweet spot ever since I was 11 and joined that first fandom, which was Harry Potter. And it does feel really weird because growing up, I was the kid who had like a reading level that was way above most kids my age, and yet now I'm reading middle grade as an 18-year-old, but I almost think, like, being so far above most kids my age, because I still have a really good reading level, don't get me wrong, but I almost think having that really high reading level means it means I can essentially just pick what I want to read with more freedom, right? Like, I don't really have to read anything with the intent of expanding my horizons or whatever. I'd like to, but I'd also like to get a library card before I do that, and I'm not going to get a library card until after I've finished my TBR stack, which is those books that are turned on their side. Those are my unread books. It's not that many, but I'm also not that interested in them, and I am a rereader. Like, such a rereader. I love rereading stuff. One of my favorite series, which we'll talk about later, I've read 7 times, and there's 10 books in it. Basically, my criteria, I impulsively picked out this list this morning, and basically my criteria for my top 10 favorite books ultimately comes down to rereadability is definitely a really big one. Do I see myself rereading this book, or have I reread it super often? It also comes down to how much it's influenced my own writing. I'm writing an upper middle grade fantasy dystopia, which I am also planning on focusing a bit on this channel. Most of these are middle grade books except 2. 2 of them are YA. That's enough yap, and I figure we should just get straight into the list. So at number 10, I've actually put the Medoran Chronicles series by Lynette Noni. I do have this whole series. It's there. It's like really hard to figure out where I'm pointing on camera. I don't know why it's so weird. Apparently I forgot about the power of editing because I forgot that I can just record series on the shelf later. But yeah, this is where the Hunger Games and Medoran Chronicles are. That's the Medoran Chronicles series. And this is the first book, which is called Akane. It's the first of 5 books. I first read this series back in 2023, and I think I got through the first 3 books, and then I just didn't read the 4th one. I don't know why, but I just DNF'd the 4th one for no apparent reason. And then a year or 2 ago, I decided to reread the first 2, and then this year I reread 3 through 5 plus the epilogue book, and I read them pretty much in a week or 2. So yeah, that's why it's in the top 10, is because I did read the series very quickly in the end, and I did really, really enjoy it. This is one of the 2 YA series on the list, and I like to think of it as a little bit like your standard middle grade, except make it YA. So it's got magic schools, and the main character, Alex, she basically steps through a doorway and finds herself in a whole new world with a sentient library and immortal species and stuff. But make it YA, so you put stuff like your royalty tropes and your magical trials and chosen one trope and all that. It's pretty cool, and I'm not one, I don't like promoting books by their tropes, and I'm fully aware that most of you are probably the same way, but you know, when I say it's a typical middle grade, the best way I can describe that is by listing the tropes. This was the author's first series, but it actually wasn't the first of hers that I read. I read The Prison Healer first, and The Prison Healer was good. We will talk about The Prison Healer later. But yeah, I really, really liked the Medoran Chronicles, and so it gets number 10 on this list. Number 9, and this one may be a little bit surprising, I've actually put Percy Jackson with my fluoro covers. I used to have worse covers than this, but I really like these covers. Again, I have the whole series on that shelf right behind this plant. And this one surprised even me when I put it at number 9, but I mean, it's true. And then, of course, there's the show. I love the show. I think I've seen the show more than I've read the books. But I do really like the books. I don't know, they're just, I don't vibe with them quite as much as I do other series on this list, but they do have very high rereadability, and that's why they're on the list rather than honourable mention. They were an honourable mention at first, but then I considered rereadability, and I was like, no, Percy Jackson probably should be in the top 10. Honestly, if you don't know what Percy Jackson is about by now, you've been living under a rock, but basically it's a kid who discovers he's actually half god, and so he goes to Camp Half-Blood, and then goes on a quest, and it's cool. It's a good series. I highly recommend, and I highly recommend this show as well. People like to hate on the show because it is different to the book, but I feel like they've just taken what was in the book and expanded on it, and if you want, like, a hot take, I kind of prefer the show to the book, and that is a crazy thing to say, I know, but sometimes I think you just gotta separate the adaptation from the book for you to actually enjoy it, and the Percy Jackson show is definitely like that, but yeah, Percy Jackson is at number 9 for me. At number 8, I'm putting... I think the series is called Supernatural Investigations, but I think other people just call it the Amari series. There are currently 4 books in this series. The first 2 were 5 stars for me, the next 2 were like 3 or 4 stars, so it's kind of fallen off a little bit in quality in my opinion. But, you know, I still really, really like this series. It's about a girl called Amari, whose brother has gone missing, and she eventually finds out that he worked for, what are they called? The Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, which is basically magical government, and they get kids to, like, work in the different departments, and it's cool. She decides to become a special agent? Is that what it's called? Or a junior agent? Some kind of agent, because that's what her brother was, and she thinks she can find her brother by doing that. There's a whole thing where they get this globe. It gives them, like, magical powers. I won't spoil what Amari's is. I believe that is a spoiler. Yeah, it's not in the blurb, so I won't say it. And then these books basically follow her trialing to become a special agent. And I think there are going to be 6 books in the series, so it is still releasing. But like I said, numbers 3 and 4 just weren't that great, in my opinion. They were good, don't get me wrong. I think I nearly cried at the end of number 3. And I've completely forgotten what happened in number 4. I was reading through my Storygraph reviews, because I don't use Goodreads. I kind of hate Goodreads, so I switched to Storygraph. And I was reading through my reviews, and I came across the 4th Amari book, and I said something like I read it like a month ago, mind you, and I said something like, oh, that ending was really traumatizing, and I can't remember the ending. I can't tell you what the ending was that was so traumatizing, but anyway, good series at number 8, and I've been around since book 1, so I'm not going anywhere. At number 7, I've put the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer. This is a very recent favourite for me. Well, no, it isn't. It's a very recent completion for me. I think I finished book 8 like a month or 2 ago, but I actually started reading this series in 2023. I kind of spaced them out, and I love it. I love everything about this series. Basically, it's about Artemis. He's a 12-year-old criminal mastermind, and he decides he's going to kidnap a fairy, which then leads him to getting involved in the fairy world. I love Artemis. He is probably one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And this series just has a bunch of cool stuff in it, like time travel and demon wizards and toilet humor. It has a lot of toilet humor. But no, I really like the series, and I definitely need to give it a reread, especially considering this first book, especially, I haven't read since 2023. But I still remember it, and I only recently finished the series, so I love this series a lot, and it's number 7 on the list for me. Number 6, I have a book that is probably a little bit less known than some of the others on the list, and it's called The Grandest Bookshop in the World by Amelia Mellor. I do have this gap that's in my shelf. This is where this goes, because I display it, like, with it facing out, because the cover is so beautiful. It's a trilogy. I thought it was going to be a standalone at first. It's a trilogy, but this one's definitely my favorite. I ended up giving all 3 books 5 stars, though, and that has only ever happened for one other series, which actually isn't even in my top 10. It's an honourable mention, but we'll get to that. Basically, this book, it's by an Australian author, and it follows real people, like, who existed in Australia back in the late 1800s. So this one takes place in 1893. And it's like a real bookshop, real people, except make it fantasy. And so these 2 siblings, you can kind of see them on the cover. That's Valley and that's Pearl. Their dad makes a deal with, like, a magician guy, and so he starts dying. And so does the bookstore. So they both start dying at the same time. And so the siblings are like, hey, we're going to make a deal with this magician. That's him. He's called the Obscura Smith. And they're like, yeah, we're going to make a deal with him so we can save our dad. And so, yeah, they kind of get involved in this like game thing. I actually don't think I've read this since 2022, but I still remember it very vividly because I love it. And especially with all the references to Australian history, which I actually understand. And yeah, the other 2 books in the series, one is a prequel, which I really liked. It was definitely better written than this one, but I still prefer this one. And then the third one, I think kind of both characters collided. I think I should have given the third one like 4 stars, but I gave it 5. I don't know. The book I've put at number 5 is probably going to get me a lot of hate, but I've put Harry Potter. I mean, it's a classic. I've been reading it since I was 11. This is the exact copy I've had since I was 11. And it doesn't really show in book 1, but if I had like book 4 or 5, like you can barely see the titles on those because I've read them so many times. I guess I really hated editing me or something, but yeah, anyway, here's a video proving that you can barely read the titles on some of my Harry Potter books. Like, you can't even see that. It's not even funny. And then Goblet of Fire is even worse. Like, I don't know if it really shows on camera, but it's so creased and dirty. And the title's all smudged. Which, I mean, it's just a sign of a well-loved book, because, as I believe I'm about to say in the video, this is my favourite book of all time, and it certainly looks like it, so... It's just a classic. Like, this is the OG middle grade fantasy. Pretty much every other one on this list is probably inspired by Harry Potter in some way. Is it the best written? Definitely not, but like, you know, back in the 90s, this was like revolutionary for its time. I can't hate it. I don't hate it. I love it. Actually, about that, book 4, Goblet of Fire, is still my favorite book of all time. It's not my favorite series anymore, but Goblet of Fire is peak literature. I love Goblet of Fire, but, you know. And obviously I'm not going to give you a synopsis for what Harry Potter is about. Everyone knows what Harry Potter is about, but yeah, I love it, and it's number 5 on my top 10 book series lists. Number 4, I have a series called The City Spies, and this one is probably a little bit more juvenile than some of the others on this list. It's not a fantasy, it's actually a mystery. I read this in 2024, I want to say, and I've been waiting for every book to come out in Australia since. There are 6 in Australia at the moment, but there are 7 in the US, so I am behind the US fans. But I love it so much. Basically, it's about a group of kids. They're from all over the world. I think they're from like Australia and Rwanda and the US and Nepal and Brazil. They're from like all over the place. And they get recruited by this British guy named Mother. There is context as to why he's a guy called Mother. And they get recruited to basically join like MI6, but like a division that has children as the secret spies, secret agents, whatever we're calling them, the city spies. And they all have code names that are named after the cities they're from. So there's Brooklyn, Sydney, Rio, Paris, who actually isn't French, but I digress, and Cat, which is short for Kathmandu. And then later there are other characters, but those are spoilers, so I'm not going to add them. The plots are fine. I can barely remember what the plots of these are about, but basically they go all over the world and they solve all these different mysteries. But I love the found family in this trope. I love the found family trope, okay? Like, it is a selling point. You tell me you've written a middle grade with, like, magic schools and found family and eccentric mentors, oh, I'm in all the way. And this book has all of it. Obviously, Mother, he's one of the greatest mentor tropes I've ever read. He's amazing. And the found family is just so cool. Like, the banter, it's just so natural. Like, none of it feels forced at all, and I love it. And of course, I love when they go and explore all the different cities and the different countries. Being a certified geography nerd, I love it. I love it so much. Like, they've been to places like Paris and San Francisco and Istanbul. Very well-known cities, but very cool cities nonetheless. And I'm just waiting for the day they do an Australia-centered one. Especially considering one of the characters is from Australia. The series I've placed at number 3 is actually the second YA series on this list, and that is The Hunger Games. I mean, this is a classic. Who doesn't know what The Hunger Games is about at this point? Basically, it's dystopian North America, split into 12 districts, and the kids have to fight to the death. I love politics in books, okay? I love political commentaries, and The Hunger Games is so good. I don't even know what I love about it. It's just such a good series with great political, like, messaging and all that. Sunrise on the Reaping is actually my favorite installment in the series because that book was so traumatizing. But I love book 1, I love book 2. Book 3 is okay, and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is fine, but I still love the series and everything it stands for. I have no notes on the Hunger Games. It's just my third favorite series ever. Now we get to number 2, and this one surprises some people when I tell them this, because I talk about this series nonstop. I talk about it more than my number 1, but I can't put it above my number 1 series. And that is the Keeper of the Lost Cities series. I know. Anyone who knows anything about the Keeper series is like, seriously, you like that? Because this is not very well written. The books, that is the whole series. Everything from there to there is Keeper. That's City Spies, but this is Keeper. 10 books about, like, this is the smallest book in the series, and we're no closer to figuring out what the villains want, how we're going to defeat the villains, who the villains even are. Is the council actually bad? Like, is this actually secretly a political commentary the whole time? We're no closer to figuring that out than we were 5 books ago, and we're still waiting on book 10, but I love it. The characters definitely carry this series for me. And again, are they the best written characters I've ever read? No, half of them don't even have motivations. They just exist and then they get forgotten about. Like poor Dex here. That's Dex, by the way. Anyone who's getting into this series will think that's Keith or Fitz at first, but that's Dex. I've read this series 7 times. I've annotated every book beyond belief. This one is not a great example of it because the first one you actually do get quite a few of your questions answered. But, like, if I were to show you Stellarloon or Legacy or something, the annotations are insane. I swear I need to stop directing my future self to come and film all these little clips, but since I insisted, this is Legacy, highly annotated. You can see there's, like, highlights and color-coded sticky notes. And Stellarloon, this is the most recent book. There's a certain chapter in Stellarloon which is just annotated beyond what you would possibly believe. Like that page, only like a little bit of it, all the underlines and highlights, and yeah, it's... Now, I'm not filming any other little clips, so deal with it. And, like, these books are very hit or miss. I find they're either 5 stars or 3 stars. This one's 4 stars. I still get excited for every new release. And, okay, I guess I should give you a little bit of a synopsis, though I'm sure most of you know what it's about by now, to be honest. It's about a 12-year-old girl. She's a genius. She finds out she's an elf, and she goes to magical elf world. And honestly, that's pretty much all I can tell you, because the rest of it just still isn't solved, so it's technically a spoiler. But, you know, in book 1, you basically think Magical Elf Academy is the main setting. They don't even go to school in the later books, brother. It's always on hiatus at this point. It's just such a fun series to make fun of, to discuss, to make theories for. And there's a love triangle that I feel like everyone who reads this series can't help but pick a side for. Because that is the thing. This series has a notoriously horrible fan base. I happen to be in the Amazing Digital Circus fandom, the 21 Pilots fandom, and I was in the Keeper of the Lost Cities fandom at one point, so... Yeah. I have lots of experience with annoying fan bases. Like, the really young fans, they care about nothing except the love triangle. The older ones just want the series to be finished. And I just need a group of, I don't know, like 15 to early 20-year-olds who still read this series and just want to talk about it. Like, the plot and the characters. And the flaws in the series, too, because I think if you're going to engage with media and love media, you should still be able to point out the flaws in it. You can love something and still point out the flaws in it. That's what it was like for TADC 9, right? I loved the episode. Am I saying it wasn't flawed? No, it was far from perfect, but I loved it. And that's the same with Keeper of the Lost Cities. And I need to find a good segment of the fandom who just wants to talk about it all the time, because that's what I want to do on this channel. I want to do like a full recap, like hours-long recaps of every book in the series, because that'll be quicker than someone rereading this entire series before book 10 comes out. So I'm definitely going to try and do that for at least book 1 in the future. And if I can do the sequels, that would be very much appreciated. Keeper of the Lost Cities is a series that I probably should have let go of ages ago, but I didn't. And here we are. And anyway, I was saying something about the love triangle. My thoughts were all over the place with this series. But yeah, there's a love triangle, unfortunately. And you just can't help but get involved in it. I'm Team Keith all the way, by the way. I don't think that justifies hating Fitz, who's the other guy in the love triangle, and the hotter one. Let's be so for real. I mean, if I had to pick, Tam's the hottest, but like, Team Keith all the way. But at this point, why is the love triangle all we care about? We're so close to the end of the series, guys. Can Can we just talk about the books for 2 seconds? But anyway, that's my second favourite series of all time. I am going to do the cliche thing where before I get to number 1, I'm going to show honourable mentions, though that's never made much sense to me, because, like, I feel like that implies your honourable mentions, like, could have been number 1, but they weren't, but it's more like they could have been number 10, but there were better series on this list. So I have 3 honourable mentions. The first one being A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is the only other series that I've given every book 5 stars, which might make some of you say, why isn't it in your top 10 then? It's because I don't think it has a very high rereadability. I've only read it once, and admittedly there was a 2-year wait between books 1 and 2 for me. Not waiting for them to come out, waiting for me to read them, because I was not prepared for how dark this was, and then 2 years later I was like fine with it. I just don't know how high rereadability is, especially for murder mysteries. So as much as I loved this series and gave every book 5 stars, I just don't know if I can justify putting it in my top 10, because I'm not about to reach for this and reread it anytime soon. But that being said, it is a great series. Again, most of you probably know what this is about. I don't exactly have a niche taste in books. I do have quite a few unknown books in the shelf that I would love to talk about one day, but, you know, most of you probably know what this is about, but just in case you don't, it's about a high schooler named Pippa. She decides she's gonna solve a murder that happened like 5 years ago, and she's not satisfied with the conclusion the police came to, and so she's like, yep, we're gonna team up with... So there was someone convicted for the murder, but she's not convinced he actually murdered the girl. None of this is spoilers. So she teams up with the guy's brother so they can, like, solve this murder. It's cool. The second and third book, like, especially the third book, get really, really dark. Like, this is a confronting series in some parts. And I had a 12-year-old reading it recently. Like, I know 12-year-olds are, like, the audience for YA, but girl, please don't read book 3 as a 12-year-old. Just don't. But anyway, that's honourable mention number 1. Number 2, I'm going to say, this is in no order, this is just the 3 that I've chosen. The Marvellers by Donielle Clayton, which I think the series is actually called The Controverse. There are 3 books out at the moment. I think there's a 4th one coming, but I'm probably not going to get that for another year, like what happened with book 3. You know, it's your pretty standard middle grade fantasy with your magic schools and your main character having freaky powers that everyone else is scared of because she... I actually don't even know what a conjurer is in this universe. I think it's got something to do with death, but I actually don't know. And, you know, it's all a not-so-subtle allegory for racism. But the world building in this, insane. I love the world so much. And it is very similar to the book I'm writing, so that was a coincidence. I started writing my book before I read this. And the final honourable mention is The Prison Healer. I mentioned this earlier. It's Lynette Noni's other series that I love. Again, the only reason this isn't in the top 10 is because I don't think it has very high rereadability. I haven't really thought to myself, I should reread The Prison Healer. I'm sure some people could, but I haven't really thought that to myself. I just remember loving this series so much, especially book 3. The plot twists in here are insane. I think it is technically a romantasy, but the romance actually isn't the main focus. I don't want to say it's not prominent, because it definitely is, but, like, there is plot beyond the romance, and character development, and magic system, and world building, and politics. So yeah, it's not like it focuses purely on the romance, and the fantasy setting is just like a background. It's a really good series, and I highly recommend it, but again, gets very, very dark in book 1, but especially by book 3, so. And at long last, we have reached number 1 on my favourite book series ever list. And I don't know why I pretended this wasn't my favourite series for so long. It's the Nevermoor series. This is the greatest thing I've ever read. I read it at the end of 2020, got given it as a Christmas present, and I was hooked. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times I've read this series. I lost count ages ago. It's by an Australian author, Jessica Townsend, and it, you know, it sounds pretty cliche on the surface. This is Morrigan Crow. She's cursed, or she thinks she is, and then she gets picked up by number 1 eccentric mentor of all time, Jupiter North. I love Jupiter North. He is my favourite book character ever. She gets taken to the Hotel de Caerleon in a city called Nevermoor, where she enters the trials for a magic school. It's like all the cool stuff. And she's like secret magical powers and stuff, and that's what all the sequels are about. And oh, I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. The writing is impeccable. The characters are impeccable. The world building is impeccable. And it's just so much fun. When I read it, there were 3 books out. The 4th one only came out last year. It took 5 years for book 4 to come out. But oh my gosh, when I tell you Silverborn was worth it, I mean that. I don't just mean, oh yeah, I'm fine waiting for, I mean it was worth the 5 years. Like, I will wait, actually, I'd rather not wait 25 years for the remaining 5 books to come out, because it is going to be a 9-book series, which does scare me a little bit, because, not this one, Silverborn got pushed back about 4 different times. Like, it was crazy, but so worth it, honestly. Like, I'm in here for the long run. This series can take 20 years to come out for all I care. I'm here until the end because I love it. And like I said, found family, immaculate. Eccentric mentor, immaculate. But the other thing about this series that I think makes it really, really special to me at the end of the day is it is the book that is kind of my inspiration when it comes to my own writing. I've been writing books ever since I could string a sentence together. And in grade 7, I was writing one that was kind of Harry Potter meets the bad guys, which sounds very interesting. It was terrible. But then I read this book. And this is actually only the second, middle grade fantasy I'd read after Harry Potter. And I was like, so you're telling me I can write something like this and it not be accused of being cliche? So when I first wrote my book, it was definitely Nevermoor, but with different characters. And since then, I've changed my series a lot. I've made it I now describe it as if a dystopian version of Nevermoor met the characters of Keeper of the Lost Cities. But, Nevermoor holds such a special place in my heart just because of how much inspiration it's given to my book. Even, there's stuff that's such obviously a blatant ripoff. The city she lives in, the main character, it's so obviously just ripped off of Nevermoor, except it's changed over time. I love this series with all of my heart, and although I hope it doesn't take 20 years for it to come out, it's kind of inevitable. And in case you need more proof of how much I loved it, that is my Nevermoor shelf. This is Jack's. He has nothing to do with Nevermoor. These are my paperbacks, the ones I've read way too many times, and this is the newest one, which is very highly annotated and also signed, but I could not be bothered to show that part off. These are the Australian and New Zealand special editions. These are the British versions. This one I bought in Australia. These two I got in Ireland. This one I got in England, and it is my favourite thing ever. Move Kinga. This Silverborn edition is the coolest thing I have ever owned. Look at it without its dust jacket. That is absolutely gorgeous. And it's also signed. There it is. It's also signed. Oh, it's so hard doing this one-handed. Yeah, I have the UK editions. And then this is actually the Swedish version of Silverborn. The Danish versions have the same covers, and I did find the first 3 in Denmark, but I didn't have suitcase space by then. So, yeah, that's my Nevermoor shelf. But anyway, this is a series that I'm very much looking forward to following, and I hope I don't have to wait 5 years for book 5, because I loved book 4 so, so much. So there you have it. That's my top 10 favourite book series plus 3 honourable mentions that I believe you should check out. And yeah, if you're new here, don't worry, we're not sticking with the TADC content for ages. If you're not new here, don't worry, we're not completely leaving the TADC content. But I hope you'll stick around, especially if you're a middle grade fan, because most of this, everything from here on up, that's all middle grade. I am only too happy to talk about middle grade books with everybody, so. But that's pretty much all I wanted to yap about today. I just wanted to get my feelings about my favorite books out there, because I've just been really appreciating all my favorite series lately, and it's it's so fun. I love being a fangirl. I don't understand how people don't do this for a living. What do you mean you just read a book and move on? How do you possibly do that? Oh yeah, I'm also currently reading a different middle grade book. It's called Crow and the Thief of Magic. Actually, just Crow, Thief of Magic. That's his first name, not his last name. Oh, I just dropped it. Anyway, that's enough yapping, so I'll see you on the flip side. Also, here's a random shot of Pomni in Harry Potter glasses. I don't know why. I just did that.